Hello and welcome back to the Downsized. My name is Laraine Durham, and this is a channel where we talk about all things weight loss related using GLP-1 medications like Mounjaro, Zepbound, Ozempic, Wegovy, Semaglutide, and Tirzepatide. I've lost over 50 pounds using compounded Tirzepatide, and I love talking to other people who have found ways to help us on this journey with our GLP-1s. And today I'm talking to Al. He's developed a really interesting app called the Weight Tracker, and we're having him on today to tell us a little bit about this and how this can help us with our GLP-1 journey. So welcome, Al. Welcome to the Downsized.
Hello. So I'm Al Maloney. I'm originally a statistician and then a clinical pharmacologist. So I've worked with pharma companies for about 30 years. And the reason our worlds have interlapped or overlapped is that I'm interested in personalized dosing and about trying to get the right dose for individuals. And I'm also interested in how apps can help us do that. I've prepared a little presentation for you today, and hopefully we can go through it and talk a little bit about if it was you going through your journey again, and we'll look at what your data was because you've provided it to me. And we can kind of show how that would have evolved over time and whether the app could have helped you make some decisions around recording your information and seeing where you're heading.
Yeah, so people ask all the time, how do I know when to go up in dose? How do I know, what dose is good for me? How do I know in maintenance? How do I know what my maintenance dose should be? So I think this is going to be some really interesting information for our viewers to see. Now, I've given out all of my data from my spreadsheet. So all of my weights are going to be appearing on the screen, which is a little makes me a little anxious, but
you're a hero. You're a hero.
But for the good of the Downsized, I have
and for the good of science, for the good of science.
And just note that we're Al's not sponsored by us. We're not receiving any compensation for this. This is a free app. So we just wanted to share it with you and let you know how it works. So take it away, Al.
Great. So I'm just going to give you a 2-minute introduction to my background, and then I'll introduce a little bit about Weight Tracker, and then we'll go through your data, Laraine.
Okay, great.
So my background, studied maths, clinical pharmacology. I've worked with pharma companies for about 30 years. And I'm interested in a lot to do with personalized dosing. And when we describe personalized dosing, the analogy we often give is talking about shoe size. Everybody understands that there's not one size fits all when it comes to shoes. And that's true also of drugs. So unfortunately, it's sometimes easier for the pharmaceutical companies to focus on a particular dose or a particular dose titration. But the individualization of that is really important. So I wrote this free book. It's available at alanmaloney.com if you're really interested in drug development. But it's the direction I would like to see drug development change to support patients. So in the book, I talk about how apps and technology can improve the journey for patients. So if you're interested in fitness, you may get a fitness tracker, and with that tracker would come an app. It would allow you to record the information in an easy way and to allow you to understand your journey. So my ideas around the personalized dosing app was it should be simple and easy to use, but it should capture the key variables. So obviously for GLP-1s, we're going to be interested in weight, but we're also interested in the good stuff and the bad stuff. So the GI side effects and something called patient-reported outcomes, PROs. It should provide the user with informative graphics and tabular summaries of their data and their progress. I think from an education perspective, it's great if it actually helps explain the journey that the patient is going on. So a good example is the relationship between dose and concentration. So when you're going through that titration period, your concentrations are actually building up in your system. And as well as that, it would be great if it could give some forward-looking predictions. So we know a lot about the trajectories of people's weight loss. So why can we not maybe put that into a forward-looking prediction?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I mean, I remember when I first started, I was very interested in, how long is this going to take? How many weeks, will I be on this to get to my goal? So I think a lot of people would really value that information.
Absolutely. And the thing we know with these drugs is the results are very variable. So
Right.
unfortunately, even at the highest doses, some people are not responding. That's what happened in their clinical trials. And
Yeah.
some are responding enormously. So again, especially maybe if it's out of pocket expense, maybe it would be nice to know which direction which trajectory you're heading on.
Yeah.
So basically that I decided to take some time off work and decided to see if I could build an app that achieved these goals. And I felt like the GLP-1s, I'd worked on that from my time in pharma, specifically more on the diabetes side, but then more lately on the weight management side. So that's where this app has come from.
Oh, all right. Oh, and here we are.
So here we are. So this was the video that I saw, and I thought I really wanted to chat with you guys. You had this really nice video where you kind of broke down your weight loss and your dosing information. So on the basis of that video and then the data that you sent me, Laraine, what I've done is I've summarized your first year with Mounjaro. So from the 29th of September last year through to the 29th of September this year, you kindly provided your weights. I've had to adjust the weights to the weight tracker weights, so week 0, week 4. But you can see the change every 4-week period. It's approximately 4 weeks. And then your overall change.
Yeah.
The other thing that weight tracker needs, it needs 2 bits of information. It needs your weight, and then it needs your dosing information. So again, you kindly provided your dosing information. So we can see here the first 12 weeks, you had the standard titration of 2.5 through 5 through 7.5. And on this top panel here, this is a screenshot from the Weight Tracker app. You're seeing that you're starting at 2.5. Each little kind of dot is a dose. Then you went up to 5. Then you went up to 7. And then your spreadsheet, I kindly filled in the profile of the dosing history that you've had up to week 52. And then I'm just assuming that you stay on 7.5 afterwards.
Yeah.
And then in the bottom panel, you can see the evolution of your concentrations. Now, this is not your concentrations. It's for a typical person relative to 15 mg. So because you're going up to about 7.5 mg, you're going up to about 50%. But you see that the purpose of this titration period is to slowly build up your concentrations in your body. If you give a big dose day 1, you'll be very, very sick.
Right.
So that's why it's necessary with these drugs. And that when I say a big dose, that's going to be different between individuals. Some individuals can easily tolerate the higher doses, and some will really struggle with the lower doses. We're different. We're different in shoe sizes. We're different in terms of our tolerability. And we see that across lots and lots of drugs. I just thought I'd mention there was a couple of little gaps here. And I believe these are the 2 reasons, Laraine. One was when you didn't have a dose, was that you went on a cruise. And one was that you were sick. I wasn't sure about the third one. I wasn't sure if you were just transitioning doses there or something. But
I don't remember. And I forgot about the being sick. I forgot about skipping that dose from being sick. So yeah,
so
you really dug in.
So in the app, you can record. There's a little section for recording a note. So if you record that you didn't have a dose, you can record the little note there that says, I didn't have a dose.
Yeah, that's good, because I like to put in notes of what was going on that week to say.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was sick.
And also you can go back and look back and see, okay, when I went up to 5 mg, when I went up to 7.5, what was my nausea? What was my GI overall?
Yeah.
So now what I've done is I've taken your data that we have reported here for 52 weeks, and these dots, each one of those is one of those data points. So it goes down to about 146.
Yeah.
So week 52 here at 146, and up here it says week 52, 146. And of course, the prediction at 1 year is 146.
Oh, wow.
Because that's not too tricky. If you tell me the data at week 52, I can definitely tell you the data at week 52. But what we're going to do is we're going to start removing these data points, one by one. And then we're going to say to Weight Tracker, hey, based on the progress so far, where do you think Laraine was heading at week 52? So that's what we're going to do. So on the next slide, this first data point here is going to disappear. So now we're just going to use this first 48 weeks of data, and then we're going to get this prediction up here of where you were going to be. So we see here that on the basis of this, at week 52, we're expecting 142.
Right.
And if I just take a few of these away, you can see a dot removing each time.
Yeah.
And I'll just pause halfway through. So if we take, for example, after 24 weeks, after 24 weeks, you'd had this nice, excellent progress. And what behind the scenes, what it's doing is it's fitting, when you press this run simulate button, what it's doing is it's fitting 147 different types of curve to your data. So some of them are a straight line, and some of them are going down extremely quickly. And that range of outcomes is what we see in the clinical trials.
So is it just based on the decrease, like the trend of my data? So as you take data out, it's less. I mean, I guess it's based on how I'm losing, right? The data and the prediction.
And how you're responding to the different doses as well. So
different doses as well.
Basically, it's estimating three things: how quickly you're going, how far you're going to go, and how sensitive you are to the drug.
Okay.
So it fits those 147 different curves from a flat line to something very steep and very big. And it says, which one are you? And then it says, okay, we're going to say that that's your type of prediction. So as it gets more and more data about you, it starts to understand what is your prediction. Right at the start up here, it just understands that you're a female, that you're 55, that you're not a type 2 diabetic. So it will give you a prediction even on the first point, but it doesn't know much about you. But as you start putting in your data, it starts to learn, okay, this is how Laraine is responding. And on the basis of that initial response, where do we think you're heading? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's really interesting.
And you realize it's not a straight line as well. So it doesn't just go. And so what behind the scenes, the maths here is pretty complicated, but we know that this is the general shape of these curves. So essentially we understand that, okay, this drug is going to have an effect on you. That's going to reduce your dietary number of calories going in, and then that's going to have an effect on your weight. And that type of model can predict these types of relationships very well.
Interesting.
Does that make sense? So here we just said, okay, at this time point, it was at 143. And then if we just again drop back and back to week, I'm going the wrong way. To week 20, to 148, to 153, to 152, to 153, to 152. So
I guess
even after just 4 weeks, it sees that initial decline.
Yeah. So even after the 1 month, it's still pretty close, really. So is that just taking into account other people's data who have been on it for 1 month at a similar weight, at a similar dose?
So if you imagine that if you took 1,000 individuals and you describe their curves, what the model is, it understands those 1,000 types of curve. And then it says, which one's Laraine like?
Which one am I like?
Which one are you most like? And generally what it will do is when it gives you your prediction, it'll average over two things. When it has very little data, like here, it's trying to give you a prediction both for you, but also for a typical person like Laraine. So because it's only got 1 point, it has to be a little bit cautious. So one of the reasons this maybe isn't jumping down miles is because it's the fancy word is regularized, the prediction. But the idea is that it's giving a value that's somewhere between a typical person like you, who hasn't got type 2 diabetes, who started at 193, and then your data, which says, okay, I've actually lost 8 pounds already in these first 4 weeks. So that's where it's trying to come up with this prediction down here. Does that make sense?
Wow. Yeah. There's a lot of data in there.
I mean, I couldn't believe how quickly an iPhone could run this. I actually thought I would do maybe 6 or 10 different curves, and it can easily handle 150 in as quickly as you press the button.
Interesting.
So the maths behind that, I just can't believe it can run it so quickly. But that's great. So that's essentially, so if we just summarize those predictions, what happened to Laraine over your 1 year? Well, your observed weight at the end of the first year was 145.6.
Mm-hmm.
And what I've done is I've just ranked the different predictions. If you go through those 12 predictions,
Yeah.
from the lowest one where it was maybe too optimistic to the
Yeah.
highest one where it was a little bit pessimistic. And then I've
Yeah.
just kind of highlighted the guys in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
And then just, this is a complete fluke, but if you average those numbers, I was just curious what that number
That's what
was.
it is.
And it very luckily was spot on. So your data is perfect. Thank you.
Oh.
That really made me look good. But really, these prediction ranges, you can see that it's sometimes a little bit optimistic, a little bit cautious, a little bit underestimating how well you do. But one of the things I've seen from one of your previous videos was when you were talking about being on 10 milligram and you were thinking of going up to 12 because you said, oh, have I stalled? Have I not stalled? Or 12 and a half, sorry.
Right.
And actually, like, there's this lag between when you have your doses and then the effect that you see, and you understand that, but it's kind of maybe nice to visualize that. So actually for you, you wouldn't have needed to go up to 12.5 to achieve your goals.
Oh,
So
interesting.
I think 10 would have got you there.
Okay.
And then this if you kind of want to have some fun with the app, what I've done is at week 52, I pretended that you are at week 52, that you go back down to 5. So at week 52, you're at 7.5. But if you went back down to 5, it thought that you maybe would put on a few pounds.
Yeah.
That if you stayed at 7.5, that you'd stay about where you're at.
Okay.
And then if you go up to 10, maybe you're going to get a little bit more efficacy. Obviously, as you put in more data and you stay, oh, okay, maybe I really, really, really want to get to 140, then maybe you try those high doses. But if the tolerability here is terrible, you may be very happy here.
And I would really agree with that, because when I did blip down to 5, like at the beginning of my maintenance, like I felt hungry, I felt food noise. I'm like, I'm going to gain weight on 5. And on 7.5, I've been on 7.5 now several months. 2 weeks ago, I said, you know what? I gained a little bit over Thanksgiving. What if I bumped this week up to 10? And I did drop a pound. And then I thought, well, maybe I don't really need to do 10. And I went back down to 7.5 this past shot. So, I mean, that's very interesting. And I have thought about, well, you know, what if I wanted to get down into the 130s, maybe get past the holidays, maybe go back up to 10, and then I could maybe get down a little bit more if, you know, if that's what I decide to do. So I think that's,
so it's very much your personal decision, right? It's this kind of balancing up your GI side effects versus your the clinical efficacy of Tirzepatide. And that's going to be super interesting for you to understand where you are at. I think you've actually found your sweet spot very well. I actually think other people maybe don't find it as quickly as you have done.
Well, I think, you know what, tracking it on a spreadsheet every week really helped me to see it clearly. And I think if people put their data in an app like this, it would also be very helpful to see it clearly. I was talking to a friend who was on 12.5, and she was trying to decide whether she thought she had stalled. And I said, well, how much weight did you lose this week? And she said, well, 0. I said, well, how much weight did you lose last week? She goes, 0. She goes, oh, but wait, let me look on my phone. She goes, oh, wait, I lost a pound. And so, you know, what you think is a stall, maybe you haven't really looked at it closely enough. So this would help to really analyze where you are.
Yeah, I mean, in the app, I just realized I've taken out the damn slide. But in the app, there's actually like a 1 week change and a 4 week change. So the idea is that you can keep a track of where, you know, because when you say a stall, like for me, one or 2 weeks really does sound a little bit too short a period to say that actually you've leveled out. Your concentrations may still be increasing if you've just gone up to 12.5. So you have to wait at least 4 weeks to the concentrations to get up to that steady state at the new dose. And then you need the time for it to actually have then its pharmacodynamic effect. It's the effect on the weight, which again will take a little period of time. So so basically that's the quick summary. I hope it made some sense. The one thing we didn't talk about for you, because obviously we were just focusing on weight, but the app basically has kind of 4 main parts to it. One is the weight. So this is looking at the, I've put a couple of dummy accounts in there, one called Jack and one called Jill, just to show people, because when you open up an app like this, you really don't have a sense of what it's going to look like if you actually bother to use it. So this individual has started on semaglutide for a period of time, then they've taken a break, and then they've gone on to tirzepatide, and you can see that this is their plan. But this individual has been going, I think, 32 weeks or 28 weeks, sorry. And then you can see from this graph pretty quickly that their main side effect is nausea. So you can see that it's very uncommon for them to have. So the green is mild, the orange is moderate, the red is severe, and the light color is none. So you can kind of see where this individual is having their problems. And you can see here they actually had a lot of severe nausea, and that may have led to them deciding to switch over. And then the last part over here is something just called patient-reported outcomes. So this is interesting for me because if people kind of record, you can talk about how much weight you've lost in terms of pounds, but you can also talk about it as, are you happy with it? Are you happy with the progress?
Interesting.
Similarly with tolerability. This is GI, but actually when you talk about tolerability, you can be talking about fatigue, you can be upset with injection site reactions. So when you talk about patient-reported outcomes, you're talking about what does the patient really just think about this treatment? Are they happy? So the overall assessment to me is super interesting. I'll look forward to comparing semaglutide with tirzepatide here, because if people record, how long was it before you started feeling excellent or great about your treatment? And it would be great to show people their progress relative to others. So I hope if we get enough data, we can talk about your weight loss at week 12 versus other people's weight loss at week 12. Laraine, I know you were above average in terms of your weight loss, but you're not extreme at all. But maybe you would like to see where you were on that distribution.
Yeah. I mean, I think my average weight loss was 1.5 pounds a week. So that didn't seem extreme to me at all. That seemed very, like, that's a Weight Watchers level of loss to me. So
so I mean, relative to the average tirzepatide patient, you were above them, but then there was people who were above you as well. So I think I put you at around the 25th percentile. So about 75% of people would lose less than you, and about 25% would lose more than you.
Interesting.
So I think, again, showing people the real world experience of other people, go, oh, where am I? I hope people would find that interesting.
Yeah, because a lot of times I hear people say, oh, well, I'm only losing 0.5 pound a week or 1 pound a week. Is this even working? You know what I mean? And if they could see compared to others, I think that would give them a much better sense of direction, especially when people are paying out of pocket and it costs so much. And if I'm only losing 0.5 pound a week, like, is this really worth it? But to see compared to a big sample, I think that would be very encouraging.
And I think also, well, I mean, so I'm coming from the other side as well. I'm trying to encourage the companies to think about these titration algorithms and to allow people to titrate based on their weight loss. So you could say, well, if I'm not losing much weight, maybe I need to go up a dose. But if I'm not, but if I'm losing weight okay at this dose, why am I rushing up? So a lot of people with tirzepatide are going through 2.5, 5, 7.5, 10. Oh, I'm getting horrible side effects. Oh, I had to go to the emergency room. Completely unnecessary. There are people who will be very well treated at 2.5. In the clinical trials, they tried 1 milligram. Some people would have benefited at 1. But of course, it's like, because the company says, well, we want everyone to just do the same.
Yeah,
we'll push everybody up. But actually, I kind of feel like it's a little bit lazy, and I would really like to see them to say, okay, if you're losing 1 to 2 pounds a week, stay there. Just stay on close. If it's tolerable, because if you go up, you might lose quicker, but then you're going to get some maybe additional side effects that you didn't have to have because you were heading in the right direction. So I hope this app will encourage people to see which direction they're heading in, and then they go, okay, I can be patient. I can wait 36 weeks. I can wait 52 weeks because I think I'm going to get to my goal. That's what I hope. I hope the companies support this type of application.
Yeah, and I've seen people lose 50 pounds only on 2.5, never going off of 2.5. Then I've seen other people who maybe have 100 or more pounds to lose really go up super, super slowly in the thought that I'm going to max out at 15 and then maybe I don't get all my weight loss achieved. You know what I mean? So if somebody has like 150 pounds to lose, would this app still be beneficial for, like, is there a range of like, if I have 50 pounds to lose, is this app going to work for me? If I have 150 pounds to lose, will this data still apply to me?
Yeah. So, I mean, so I don't actually deal in pounds. I deal in the percentage change. So
Okay.
actually, when you look at the data, it's actually much better to analyze it on percent change. People who are bigger lose more.
Yeah.
And generally, when if you take the trials and you stratify it by the lowest weight category in the trial to the next highest, the next one, and next one, and next one, and then you look at the percentage change, it's pretty constant across the group.
Is it?
For women, it's higher. Women generally will lose a bit more than men. Type 2 diabetics lose less weight. So in the app is built in the clinical trial results. And my
So if you're a woman or if you're diabetic, it knows and
yeah.
it projects.
So if we put in your data and we said you're a type 2 diabetic, your initial prediction would be much lower because generally the weight loss in the type 2 diabetic population is much lower than it is in the overweight population.
And I guess that makes sense thinking about how we've seen the clinical trials report. I mean, I think 20% weight loss with Tirzepatide, 20% of your body weight was at 20 to 30. I guess it depends on what study you look at.
Yeah.
So
more like, so I think around just over 20 for Tirzepatide, more like 15 to 16 for Semaglutide. But the way I see it is that middle number is kind of like interesting when you compare A versus B, but to the individual, are they at the top end or are they at the bottom end of that 0 through 30? And that's actually, for the individual patient, that's what they want to know. Saying, well, this drug works really well for other people, that's interesting, but that's not interesting to me. I want to know if it works for me, and I want to know about my journey. So I actually want some feedback on my journey, not on someone else's journey. So, and that's what it's trying to do.
Right. Yeah. Everybody wants to know how it's going to work for them. You know, how fast can I lose weight? How fast can I get to my goal? Is this working? And I like the side effects part of that too, because that's one thing I really didn't track so much at first. Like, I remember feeling tired. I remember maybe a little nauseous at first, but I didn't really rate it on a scale or anything like that. So, thinking about moving up kind of when you're in the middle, I kind of forget about those earlier.
I mean, I struggle to remember what I did last week or how I felt last week. So if you say, how did I feel 3 months ago, 6 months ago on 5 milligram? So, I mean, the graphs I have at the moment, I think they can be improved. I would like to maybe, I'm going to add an option so you can shade the background with the dose that you're on. So when I showed you that graph and I said, oh, that was the period where it was bad for Jack, the imaginary character, I actually want the background for that period to be saying they were on Tirzepatide for 10 milligram or they were on Semaglutide at 1.7 milligram. So you can say, oh, that period was when I tried 1.7 and that was what I saw. I did report pretty bad constipation. I did report other GI side effects, just so that you can try to learn for yourself. Because again, hearing like, well, I mean, it drives me crazy when in oncology they say drugs are safe and tolerable. Absolute nonsense. It's not tolerable for a lot of people. They can be extremely terrible side effects. So actually, talking about tolerability as though it's like other people isn't very relevant. You're interested in yourself. And I think as drug companies and regulators, we should give a sufficient wide range for people to explore. And then you start low and you work what works for you. And some people will get to the top and it actually won't work for them at all. But actually, for a lot of people, they'll be very satisfied at the lower doses and they'll never need to go up here. And if we just push everybody up here, then we get a lot of side effects. So I hope I hope the app's going to become popular. I hope people talk about it. So I really appreciate having the chance to talk to you about it. I loved your channel. And I think I'm hoping people will see that it's maybe a way for them if they're starting this journey just to keep an idea of what's going on, as well as their Excel spreadsheet, or instead of their Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah.
I'm going to make it available so that you can get your data out of the app as well.
Oh, really? You could export it?
Yeah, you should be able to. It's your data. I should be able to give it back to you, just as a CSV file, but something so that you can actually just get that downloaded and play around with it yourself.
And where can we find this app? Is it on the App Store?
Yeah. So it's just been on the App Store about 8 weeks now, 6 weeks.
Okay.
So it's fairly new. I'm trying to spread the word. I'm definitely not a marketing expert. I know something about drug development. I can build a half-decent app, but I know nothing about marketing. So if there's anyone who's got any great ideas, please put it in the comments for the video. That would really help me. Because I think it's a version 1 now, and I've already got 2 or 3 plans to do the next version. But I hope if it becomes popular, I can show to drug companies and change the way that they develop drugs. So that the new generation of the obesity drugs come with an app. They come with a titration plan. That's my goal.
Well, that would be great, because that's what people say is, my doctor prescribed me this medication and this kind of went away. And now what do I, what do I do? How do I know when to go up? So they gave me no direction. So if people could have an app along with the drug that really helped them, and I guess along with their doctor, decide when to go up.
Absolutely.
And, that would be fascinating. So if our watchers out there want to, get in on this great development and download the app for free, I definitely recommend it. Go to the App Store, download Weight Tracker.
Tracker, not Tracker. Weight
not Tracker.
It's a journey. I was trying to be creative. I was trying to play on the word journey. I don't know if it works, but again, I'm not a marketing expert. So in my mind, it sounds, and it's supposed to be a little kind of mountains. In the logo is supposed to be mountains. This idea that it's a tough journey. But knowing the goal and knowing that you're heading in the right direction, I hope will help.
And what country are you in, Al? I don't think you said that at the beginning.
Yeah, so I'm British, but I live in Sweden. My wife is Swedish, and she said Sweden was the best place to live.
Well, she was obviously right. Happy wife, happy life, right, Al?
That's so true. So thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you for joining us today, and thanks for watching us out there, everybody. Please like and subscribe to The Downsized. I'm Laraine Durham. We hope you leave a comment in the comments and tell us how you like this video. If you downloaded the app, what do you think of it? So let us know. Thanks again, Al, for coming on today, and we'll see you next time on The Downsized.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you.